Welcome to Naija Knows. Welcome back, where you come to laugh and cry with us and go through everyday but good stories with us. We're back for a whole new episode to talk about what's on our minds. I'm Tori. And I'm gonna let everybody go through and say, hey, who we got?
Alicia.
EHJ.
And Nika.
Yeah.
Hey.
All right, so like I said, all the good stuff that's going to happen, don't worry, you'll be able to find us individually on our Instagrams and things. Be respectful, be nice, but keep it cute too. Come say hi to us on our page. Naija knows. We'll drop all that good stuff at the end. Don't worry, we got y'all. But so today's topic, spirituality. How important is it in a relationship, in a marriage? Is it a make or break? So very interesting as far as the making of like a healthy relationship. So like you guys, like how for you guys individually, how important is spirituality in a partner for you?
It's important, I think, especially when it comes to conflict. It helps how you deal with conflict and how you deal with stress and emotions. But do I think is it a end all be all? No, no. I think long as you have that foundation and you have something, then, I think it's something you can work through, together, as long as you have that foundation.
Yeah,
Nikki?
I think the older I've gotten, and I'm gonna be real with y'all, right? I'm gonna be real transparent for a second, okay? And I don't normally do this. I tell y'all stuff, but on this podcast, it's limited, it's very selective on what I choose to share. But I ain't gonna lie to y'all. I was thinking about this topic and I was like, I feel like, I'm 41, right? And I'm not old. But I feel like to a certain degree, I'm behind the eight ball when it comes to that because now at this age, I see it as way more important than what I did before. And so I feel like also because, we talked about before some of the difficulties dating at this age, it kind of makes it even more difficult because, yeah, I am looking for that. Before it mattered, but it wasn't a make or break for me. But at this point, like to your point, Felicia, when it comes to conflict, and not even conflict necessarily between each other, but conflict that the world just brings you in general, like how do you deal with that? For me, I've had, I'm a preacher's kid, definitely had questions about Christianity and a lot of things in the Bible and things like that. But just going through life, I ain't gonna lie to y'all, when it wasn't nobody around or nobody that I could feel like I could call, I got on my knees and I prayed. And certain times I know for a fact it was my spirituality, it was God that got me through because I should have, again, being very transparent, I should have killed myself a long time ago. So for me now at this age, it's very important. And I do ask the question, in a dating type of scenario, what is it that you believe? Because I need to know what you do when you don't have nobody else you can call. You know what I'm saying? Because I can't be everything to you. I can be as much as I want to be or as much as I can possibly try to be, but I can't be everything. There's certain things you're going to deal with internally that I can't help you with. So it's very important to me. But again, I feel like because I waited so late to make it important, it kind of puts me behind a little bit when it comes to dating.
Interesting. Okay. What about you for you?
It is very important. And that's what I think led me to my husband now. And it was just a point in my life that I was like, you know what? I tried it the other way. Ain't knocking other people that tried a different way, but I found out like getting in the physical before you understand who that person really is and get into the root of things and how you ideally want to have a healthy relationship, all of that was clouding my vision. And I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go back to the basics. I'm also a pastor grandkid and all that stuff like that. And we always talk about unequally yoked, but like I said, I look at it in different things, not just religion. But when I started to seriously date, that was something that I put at the forefront because I shouldn't be afraid of what I believe in. And if I can't have that conversation openly with someone that I see as potential future in my life, then what am I doing? So I found the courage to be like, I want to have this conversation early on. Are you the type of brother that's like, I'll see you on Easter and Christmas? Because that ain't gonna work for me. It may work for you, but that's not gonna work for me. So I think it is a deal breaker especially just for me personally, once you start looking at growing your family, because you have to look at the morals and what beliefs you're going to instill in your children. And if you have that conflict, then how are you going to do that? And how, when they start getting their mindset and knowing, like, are questioning what to believe, then it's going to be like a versus. And I don't want a versus in my house, because now it's going to be like, well, I want to go, praise and worship with mommy, or I want to go with daddy. And now it's like your household is divided. So it's important to me.
I will go a little different sideways. Like for me, I feel like my first question is always, is it religion or is it spirituality? Make or break for me is religion. I'm coming from being a ex Jehovah's Witnesses and running away at 18 and being done with it. Organized religion for me sits very differently for me. So for me, I know personally, if you are heavy religious and it's organized religion, that for me, depending on how far you want to take that, it may be a make or break for me. As far as spirituality to me is personal. I don't necessarily need you to believe what I believe, but I do need you to have a connection to something, you know. And I think that anything outside of that is personal preference. Like personally, I personally wouldn't be able to get down with someone who's a Satanist or somebody who's part of the Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster, which is a little thing, more, and they're more, agnostic. There's nothing, to me, there's nothing wrong with that. If that's what you believe and that's your real spirituality, cool. But the vibe of that doesn't, that's not my preference. That doesn't vibe with me. The to the point, like the morals and things that come with it is going to ultimately clash with how I feel. Not even how I feel, but just my morals and things. Your approach is a bit too different, and it's not compatible. But if you have something that you can firmly believe in, and and the thing is like, and the reason why I kind of say it that way, because your spirituality, a lot of different religions have the idea of treating people how you want to be treated. Don't kill people. Don't be gluttonous. Don't be lusty. Don't be gross. Don't be petty. Don't be a thief. Don't, that's not just closed to Christianity. That's a spirituality thing that kind of spans across a lot of things. So for me, the religion is actually would be more of a make or break for me than the spirituality. I personally just need you to be spiritual in the fact that you're connected to something outside of yourself.
Yeah, to your point, that is the difference. So when I say spirituality, I'm not talking about just going to church. I don't go to church every Sunday. I can't even tell you the last time I've been to church, but I know there is a certain foundation that I have. And the one thing that I can say about my parents, I know people say a lot of stuff about preachers and preachers' kids, but the one thing that I think that I had a huge advantage on when it comes to that is, number one, my dad was not from this country. He was not raised in Christianity. That wasn't on the radar. He was raised in his own native Yoruba and Islam, so when he came to Christianity, it was completely by choice after him studying multiple things. And so one thing that my parents always encouraged, even though my mom was raised in Christianity and she, did her own thing and came back to it, but one thing they always encouraged, my mom used to always say, baby, you need to know for yourself. And so even though I was raised that way and, kind of went with it because, that's your parents, that's what you do, you go to church. But in life, going away from it completely, because when I would turn 18, I was like, I ain't never, ever stepping foot in a church again. That was my attitude. You won't catch me at a church. That was my attitude, just because of, certain things and experiences and seeing people for what they really are. But at a certain point in my life, I had to separate the people and the traditional religion practices from what spirituality is. Once I was able to do that, then that's when it's like, okay, I get it now. You know what I'm saying? And certain things that my parents would say, or certain things I learned, in church, I think it helped me to see even beyond what they were teaching, just from a straight Bible, this is the rules type of perspective. And so, yeah, again, now it's just like, what do you believe in, first of all? Like you said, sorry, I can't do this whole Satan and I'm not doing none of that. Atheist, I can't do that. I get it because, like I said, I've had questions. So I completely understand why you might come to that conclusion. But for me, I need to know what it is you believe and how can we, come together and
Yes, is
coincide
it
when it comes to those
compatible?
type
You are.
of, beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
Felicia.
That's true.
Oh, Jesus. Talking about it's crazy how when you're talking about religion, like I remember when I think my daughter was 3, and same like you, sorry, growing up one of Jehovah's Witnesses, hadn't been to the Kingdom Hall and I can't even remember how long. And I'm like, that's when I had the mindset, well, maybe I need to give my daughter some sort of foundation because I'm grateful for my foundation. I also had to step away from it because there's just some things about it that I'm like, I can't get down with this. But I remember the one thing that stuck out to me was when I said, you know what, Mom, I'm going to take Maya to the Kingdom Hall. And she said, well, make sure you wear a dress. I said, but all I have is pantsuits. Why do I have to wear a dress? Because that's just what you have to do. But in my thing, but why? I'm presentable. I'm clean. God says, come as you are, right? So why does it matter if I have on a nice pantsuit or if I have on a dress? And she was like, okay, go ahead and do it. And you'll see when I tell you the looks I got walking into the
Mhm.
Kingdom Hall, it put a bad taste in my mouth. And from that moment, I never went back again. And I think that's where if you're religious, that's fine. I chose to be more of a spiritual person. Do I believe in God? Yes. Do I believe in Jesus? Yes. Am I going to go to another Kingdom Hall? Absolutely not. Would I date somebody who's a Jehovah's Witness? Absolutely not. Just because that's just not how I get down. But if I was to be in a relationship with someone who was like, hey, they want to go to church, and I mean, it's something that we can talk about. It can be a conversation, but
Yeah,
yeah,
because
that's a touchy one for
yeah,
me.
spirituality to me is such a personal thing. Like, and I know like each day I know for you like the idea of not having a divided home, and I feel like that division is again it's less about religion and more about yes your spirituality, but also that compatibility. Because you can have I personally am all about the idea of making choice. You should have a choice. We were created with free will, the ability to think. We were all created differently. We all have different needs. And I feel like a higher power is not going to create us so differently and then ask us to be the same thing. Like that doesn't make sense. If you wanted us to be and do something all the same, you would have created us the same. But you gave us this will to think, to learn, to grow. And I believe that God is loving enough to provide a birth of ways to get to him or they whatever there's a way they're going to create he's going to create a way to get to him in a way that's just as unique as you are. And so I feel like when you find that compatibility, not necessarily the religious pathway is necessarily it. I think the foundation of that is you as people. I know some real good atheists that are probably better than a lot of folks that run up in church every day, like some real like, and they have morals. They have a solid foundation. They're able to make those decisions that we like to pin on just Christians or very high religious folks. But again, I think it goes deeper than that when you think of spirituality and when you find that compatibility. And I think if you're both evenly yoked, which again is not just a Christian thing, but kind of finds its way across spirituality as a whole, if you find that other person who at the foundation can offer kind of the same thing, regardless of whether you're here and they're here, if you have children, you can provide, choice without being divided. But again, that's going to be on your compatibility with somebody else.
I have a question. So, yesterday, you said you wanted to find someone that just didn't want to go to church, twice a year on special occasions. Is that important though? Because, God is everywhere, right?
Yes.
Why do we have to be in a building? Can't we fellowship at home
It's not
together?
necessarily a building per se, because more where 3 or more are gathered, that's considered worship. But what I'm saying is when I looked at what my idea of what a husband was, it was a spiritual leader. So you going twice out of a year is not something that's going to work for me because you're supposed to help lead this family. So if you're not leading by example, how are we going to teach our children what the word is? If you're not in the word, learning from the Bible, then how can I provide those examples to you that do correlate to real life situations? So I think more so when it came to me dating, it was me just saying that I have to step out and say that this is not something that I'm afraid of or hiding, because in past dates and people that I dealt with, it was like a fear of like, if I bring this up and they really know that this is where I'm at spiritually, that might be a turnoff. So then I learned to say, you know what, if this is who I am, I'm coming as I am, and no knockdown on anybody that wasn't where I'm at, because everyone is always going to be at different walks in their faith. No one's going to be on the same level ever because of circumstances and things that you go through. But I think that was the biggest thing, was me also having the conversation for someone that has grown up in a church, having a grandfather be a pastor, and us having to feel like we had to be the poster children for religion and all this other thing. It's like you couldn't do nothing in your life because they're not only watching the pastor, they're watching the kids, they're watching the grandkids. So you have this immense pressure to try to be perfect when we know no one's perfect. But I always like to have that conversation as well. Like, what is your experience if you don't believe what I necessarily believe, and what has been your experience with the people in the body of Christ? Because we all know that those experiences coming from how I grew up as well, it's not always as welcoming. So you're going to get the looks. You're going to have somebody come and telling you, "Oh, you need to pin your dress up because it's showing too much cleavage." When you should be saying that your husband should be keeping his eyes on the pastor and not the girl that's walking by. Like you want to condemn somebody when we don't have the power to condemn people. So I think asking what their relationship or experience has been when it comes to religion, and if they feel that would change based on their own discovery, that's fine as well. But again, just for me, I was looking for someone to really help me also grow in my spiritual walk. And if that's someone that's not willing and they're just saying that I only go these 2 times out of the year, then what else are you doing for yourself on the spiritual level to grow? So now I wanted to clarify on.
And I think that, because Christianity, especially in this country, because I know usually, your parents are immigrants as well. If you talk to immigrants from another country that are, have come to Christianity for whatever reason versus the ones that were born and raised here, there is a very, very clear difference. Like, you have to talk to them and see the way they talk about it and the way they believe it, whether Christian, whatever they believe, like they believe it firmly. And that's what I can always respect. Whether I agree with you or not, it's a whole other thing. But I can respect somebody that does not waver from what they believe. And I think that because Christianity in this country, because of slavery, white supremacy, all these other things, and personal bad experience, we always give it a negative connotation when it comes to going to church. The reality is, why do you go to the club? Because you want to listen to music, you want to be with like-minded people that listen to the same thing that you listen to and that dance like you want to dance. So we have no issue coming together when it comes to other stuff. It's only when it comes to organized, religion that then we have all these questions. So I don't go to church every Sunday. I got my own personal reasons. The church that I do go to, they maybe see me once last year. You know what I'm saying? And I go there because I know them. Because I've gone to other churches and I ain't like it. I ain't gonna get too much into detail. And I ain't like it. And because I grew up in it, and I know, especially from a pastor's kid perspective, when you see people and they issues and they come knocking on your house door at 3 o'clock in the morning, and you start hearing all these other things, and you see how it is in your own house versus what y'all teaching me, it's a lot of questions and a lot of things that come up. But I feel like because Christianity has such a negative connotation here, at least in this country, that's why we kind of look at it, myself included, look at it in a certain way. But again, to your point, Tori, personal choice. So yeah, personal choice. My personal choice is that we ain't going to agree on everything. That's just human. We're not going to agree, whatever it is. But we need to handle a sort of, even level playing ground so that we can operate in a more, compatible way. Spirituality, yeah. If you study the Bible and study Quran, a lot of things are the same, except when it comes to Jesus. That's when it starts, people start going off in different directions. But like you said, Tori, as far as the basics, a lot of things are the same. Like, yeah, you shouldn't kill people. Like, we all kind of agree on that. Even if you're an atheist, you kind of agree on that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's certain things that, to your point, Tori, yeah, we can agree on. But to User Day's point, yeah, I want somebody that if I would decide to go to church today, that's not gonna be like, well, why are you going to, let's go,
Right.
stay for an hour and then go back home and enjoy Sunday dinner or whatever. So
I
it's,
think that that is
personal choice, but it's like I said, to me, it's way more important to me now than it was before.
I think it's pure compatibility. And I think that again is personal on to everybody. And so if it's compatible and it works for you and that's how your life is moving and it works for you to have somebody that's also in the same vein and kind of the same area that you both can decide that that's where you both want to help support each other grow in that same area. Cool. Like, and I don't think that it should be so combative in that way. And again, here to your point, Nikki, here in the States, Christianity does have a bad connotation because it's done so much to tear down so many people and has been bastardized and used in such a derogative, negative, controlling facet, unfortunately, that it's hard sometimes to see past that, which is, I think, where my kind of aversion to the idea of a very strict organized religion. So I have all the respect in the world for people, for anybody that can come say, this is my faith, this is what I believe. Cool. And for me, I'm like, yes, have something you believe in, work on that, love that, grow that, be that, be the embodiment of what you believe, but also make space for the rest of the world and know that even if their beliefs are a little bit different, that doesn't make them less. That doesn't, so my experience with Jehovah's Witnesses was that pretty much anybody who was not a Jehovah's Witness is going to be destroyed. You are not going to make it. You are not good enough. You are not these things. And seeing some of the degradation and the pain and the hurt, including in my own life, that kind of negative control that is used by a lot of organized religions at kind of like the top is not what I'm here for. I'm of the vein that traditions is you just being bullied by dead people at this point. And it's kind of like you take away, people are so willing to me to give up thinking, because it was like, in the religion growing up, every day it was find it for yourself, find the truth for yourself. And I took those words to heart. But when you don't find them, then you're wrong. You've done something wrong. They're just now allowing the men within the religion to have a beard with no explanation otherwise. Oh, you can have a beard. So it's like, so what was all that control for before? It's the misuse of power. And now you're worried about wearing a dress. You're worried about having a beard. You're worried about the wrong things. And I feel like when it comes to people who take religion as that forefront for compatibility, I believe that's personally, I think that's not that there's anything wrong with it, but it's just got to be compatible. If you both are gunning for a pastor and first lady, it's cool, power couple.
I
You
think
can
that's
move
where
in.
people get it
But if you're
confused. Because if you read
right,
even just straight up Bible, Jesus came and he turned over all the tables in the synagogue. Why?
yeah.
Because they were religion. You know what I'm saying? And he came to teach something better, something higher, something, that is true, going to work for people, because going to the synagogue at that time, whatever time, and, doing the sacrifice and all that, it's just ritual stuff that we pretty much, well, I guess all things are made up, but, rituals that we do. And Jesus came and said, nah, none of that. This is what it is. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's where, sometimes, again, humans are humans. We start like, oh, okay, this is what he said. Okay, so this is what's got to be 100% of the time. And if you veer from it, shame on you. You know what I'm saying? And so you make people not want to even do it. Like, I remember having a conversation with my mom one time, like, God forgive me if I'm wrong for saying this, but like, if that's you say you practicing and believing and following like it, but if that's what he doing, like, I'm good. You know what I'm saying? Because that's not right. It's just not right. So again, it took a long time and a lot of, especially after my mom died, anger and just kind of searching and going through things myself to be like, okay, so this is what I believe. this is what I want. This is, where whoever I'm going to date is going to be, or needs to be, at least not on necessarily the same pace, but like you said, usually they on the same sort of vein as me,
Yeah.
because it's going to
Because
make it.
just have alignment. Because I
Yes.
don't go every Sunday either. If we're
Have
too
a
tired,
lighter.
something happens. It's like, hey, let's stream something. Let's have worship and fellowship together. It's just being in alignment on how you want your household to look. And I was just like, okay, if we don't agree on these certain things, and that was just something I just wasn't willing to pursue with other people based on what I knew and what I experienced in the past. So yeah, definitely just in alignment on in your relationships and what you want on every level, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. All those things need to be talked about, because you can still have the spiritual and that person is not emotionally attached to you whatsoever, and you're still starving in your relationship. So it's just learning how to be in alignment, communicate well what you want, and make sure that you guys are on the same page and building up to where you need to be. Because we've had our discussions, and we already know sometimes people in the body of Christ is not Christ-like. They try, but there's certain things you're like, I'm like, what page you on? Because I didn't read that. And you got your own little translation. Like I've had experience with Jehovah's Witness as well, because one of my family members married into that. She converted. And again, I'm very open-minded. I think when you're a Christian, or you're someone that has a belief in something, it's also having the ability to be open to learn what other people say is their belief, and having open dialogue, not me just coming to Bible thumping and be like, yo, you converted, this is that and the other. I'm like, okay, let me go to Kingdom Hall. I went to Kingdom Hall, and then I would sit, I would observe, and I would hear things about going to the elders about personal things. I've heard about the ostracizing thing. That's something that I question as well. I'm like, but if they love you, why are they putting you in a space where you're going to suffer and not feel that support? Some of those things she couldn't answer for me, because she converted, because she thought that this was love, and she didn't really know what she was getting into. And then now it's up to her to figure out what she believes in now and pursue that, or whether she's going to come back. But I learned so many things. Some people got Muslim. I'm like, hey, what are your belief in? What do you actually do? Why is it that you can't really be around another man's wife, or interact or hug them or be alone with them? Why does your religion believe in that? And I like to hear those things. I like to educate myself. And then we can have that conversation. Okay, well, this is what I believe. And it's not necessarily me trying to convert anybody. And I think that's just having respect for other people's beliefs as well.
I think we extend this a lot to, sorry, go Felicia.
Growing up Jehovah's Witness, and being older, it really puts a bad taste in your mouth to where you get older, like you were talking about the ostracizing, being disfellowship. I've had many people, and being a young kid, and my mom's like, you can't talk to that person, and I'm like, huh?
What you mean?
Why can I talk to them? Oh, because somebody saw her doing X, Y, and Z. So you have this group of people, like you said, who should be, giving you the support and loving you, but they're watching and waiting for you to F up and to make a mistake, so they can say, you did something wrong. Now we're going to go ahead and put you on the outside of the gates.
Yep.
It puts a really bad taste in your mouth. And like I said, I do believe in God. I do believe in Jesus. But for me to be a part of something bigger in that respect, it's God is going to have to be like, you need to go to this church right here. You need to go over there, just because Jehovah's Witnesses, that the Bible thumpers, that's what they do.
Mm-hmm.
They don't care. They call it the truth. They think that is the only true religion. Nothing else matters. And we're only 144,000 getting into heaven.
You ain't made it. You're probably not going to, just so you know.
I used to get in these discussions. This was in high school, and I want to say her name so bad, but I ain't gonna say her name. And she was Jehovah's Witness, and she was firm. One thing I respect about her, she did not waver, not one bit. And like I said, my parents, they taught me to question. That's why even now, even in dating, I ask a lot of questions because I want to know. And my mom used to buy these books: how to talk to a Jehovah's Witness, how to talk to a Muslim, how to talk to a Seventh-day Adventist. It was like all these, and I would read them. Like that part, I know I got from my dad. I would read them, and so I used to go to her. We were in bands, and I would go to her and be like, "So, such and such, what about?" And she would get so mad. And I tell you, I know I get it from my dad. One of the things that I loved about him is he will never try to convince you that he's right. Right? He
Mm.
will, and I learned that from him. He will always just question you about what you believe. And I remember
Mm.
even at a casino one time, and I met this sitting at the bar, met this Muslim man who was in a relationship with a Jewish woman. I don't even know how we started conversation, but I was just like, so that work? Because y'all got some major different, like another side of the world, y'all literally hate each other. So how does that? And he starts telling me about their relationship and all this stuff. And I used to hang out with a lot of Muslims as well. So, a lot of stuff I had heard before, but I just question people about what you believe. I'm never going to try to convince you I'm right. I'm just questioning you about what you believe. And like I said earlier, a lot of people don't really believe what they say believe. They just kind of going along with it because that's what they were raised, that's what they were taught, et cetera, et cetera. But I think so everybody's point, really, the compatibility and a lot of times getting the organized religion confused or mixed up, all intertwined with spirituality is where we get things messed up a lot of times. And I think as far as the Bible is concerned, Bible isn't the only place that talks about Jesus, but Jesus' teachings is way more than what we have even like scratched the surface of.
Right.
Like you can have an actual spiritual connection. You know what I'm saying? Like there's so
Yeah.
much more than what our minds can even like fully grasp.
Exactly.
And that is
I
the
mean,
part
even
that I
within
do
the
like
Christian
about
religion, you got
spirituality.
sorry, sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say even within Christianity, you have denominations. Denominations
Yeah.
ain't nothing but a change of opinion on small details. Those small details in itself have not fractured Christianity, but have given choices within Christianity in itself. And again, that's not to say any denomination is better than the other. It's still a matter of opinion. And I feel like that kind of space that we give for even within Christianity to say, we have different denominations and be split that way, but you still have room for it. There's still room for it. And I feel like to me, that kind of room should also be given to those that we want to bring close to us. And I feel like we give a lot more space. Like even when we think of it, doesn't just extend to marriage and relationships, it also extends to friendship. So I believe in a higher power. I believe that there's a God. I believe that there's a force that took the time to love us and create us. I believe that Jesus existed. I don't know. I don't think that there is enough for me personally to say that he is the only way or the best way. I think that he is one of the ways, and I think that he was a very pivotal person who did exactly what he needed to do. We're still talking about the man today, and but there's also other figures out there, other older figures who also had equally as big of an impact, and I'm not going to discount them in lieu of others. But for example, like I'll use me and you, Nikki. We've been friends forever, even with different beliefs. We still make that kind of loving space for each other to still be each other and still respect each other's level of spirituality without it breaking who we are as friendships fundamentally.
Mm-hmm.
We both still, I feel like personally, you can still share that same level of I don't know what the word is, worthiness, that same level of foundational, sturdiness, regardless of what angle you're coming from. And I feel like we give a lot more space for that in our friendships than we do in our personal relationships. And for me, because it's all love. I love my friends, and of course, like I don't know if I could get down with somebody again. I'll bring up the spaghetti people again. I don't know if I could get with on a friendship level, maybe somebody who believes in spaghetti, but who knows? Maybe I have. And it's about that solid foundation of who you are as a person and that compatibility as friendships. We'll talk, me and you, Nikki, will talk about religion 24/7. You've been to my house when they've come knocking to my door. Nikki has answered my door for me when they've come to harass me because my parents will still send people. Even I've been ostracized with this fellowship since I was 18. And my parents have never stopped harassing me. They will follow me. They will use underhanded things. They'll try and send eligible young men to accidentally knock on my door. They'll send children. They'll send people. Nikki was at my house one day and answered my door when they sent somebody, and he literally came to my door to tell me about how my parents not talking to me anymore was my fault because I decided to leave the religion and hurt my parents. I've had my parents call me. My parents have acted like I died. They left
Listen,
me as if I died when I was 18. I've been by myself since 18 because I decided to not be of that religion. Not to say I didn't believe in God, not to say that I am, X, Y, and Z, but just because I looked for the truth like they told me to, and it wasn't them, but that that was putting me in adult timeout, and anybody else like that in adult timeout was their way of showing love, decided by who? Somebody's personal opinion, which is why you have the denomination of Jehovah's Witnesses. It's a personal opinion, and it's a lot of control. But I feel like if we open ourselves back up to love, then that compatibility for me personally extends far past the religion, but more so, and again, back to more so about that overall compatibility, which, yeah, when you're raised in a certain way, you're going to find that same compatibility for people who are kind of raised in the same way. I think that's where I think, can kind of all connect, at least, within the four of us, as being raised with very highly religious parents, not necessarily spiritual, but religious parents. And I think that we connect on that. There's a connection that definitely exists, I think, having that kind of same background.
I think like just with the experience that I've had, like having a family member marry into and convert, and my observation, because what I would do, because I consider myself a spiritual person, like if I was staying at her house for that weekend, I'm like, I believe the word is the word. And as long as I'm reading from my Bible and yours is not going off on a tangent and it's saying the same thing, I would attend Kingdom Hall with her. And like I said, it was an opportunity for me to get to learn and not necessarily take an approach to some of my family members that was like, you and a cult and da da da. I'm like, hold up, words is strong. But I'm like, but you can't also say that because you haven't went there and experienced it for yourself. And that's where I was kind of telling this other person that's an elder, like, you also have to try to experience and try to see from that person's perspective why they believe, in question and ask and have that dialogue. But I noticed one of the things that I observed in that one particular Kingdom Hall. So Jehovah's Witness, don't come for me. I'm just saying, for this particular place that I saw the times that I went, is I noticed that a lot of the children were getting married really, really quick. And
got stories.
Yeah, I had a conversation. I'm like, these kids are way too young. They don't even know what love is. They don't really know what life is at this moment. And one of the girls I became kind of close to, and I just kind of was like, kind of picking her brain. I'm like, okay, so why do you want to get married? Like, what is your goal for getting married? Why do you feel? And she told me, this is her words, the young ladies were, because we're not allowed to do anything, and because we're curious about relations, this is the only way that we can do it and be seen as, don't get,
Acceptable.
yeah, acceptable, that they won't, get basically ostracized and be like, oh, they're disfellowship. And I was like, well, that's not a good thing, because, at that age, you young and stupid. And now you like, I'm married to this fool that I don't even like. And then if they
Yeah.
can't just say, I want a divorce, now they're going to be forced to be like, now the next step is for you guys to grow your family and be miserable. And no one's going to know about it because you can't really say anything because you're still a child. Y'all still live at home, but you're married.
I
Yeah.
remember
Yep.
because my stepdad was abusive. I have a relationship with him now, but anyways, when I was younger, he was abusive. I remember when the cops were called, an elder came to the house the very next day.
Mm.
Anything that happens in your household, they are involved.
Yeah,
Right.
no.
Right.
Before they got married, an elder was involved. They had to go to meetings and they had to do, I guess, their version of counseling together. Like, they're involved a
Right.
little bit too much in every aspect of their relationship.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like that. So it gets even worse. I've seen kids get their parents, Jehovah's parents, signing away their rights for them to get married at 16 just because they want to have sex. And I was
I
like, absolutely not. And they will do this pseudo thing. Like, my parents had the person they wanted me to marry set up since I was 4. That definitely wasn't going to happen. But it's this whole idea of, it's like shit or get off the pot. Like, if you date more than 3 months, then that's looked badly upon. You need to hurry up and go. They're not explaining love. Now you have all I saw was just a whole bunch of kids getting married, having kids, and being miserable because they don't know the person that they're marrying. They really just needed to experiment. And then with my dad being an elder, I've nights where my dad was the one coming to your house if you jumped on your wife, like weekly him having to go to somebody else's house because brother so and so just jumped on sister so and so again. And it's like, Well, what did y'all do? Well, we prayed about it. Did y'all call the police? No, no, no. We just prayed about it. But then turn around and be like, baby girl, if anybody put your hands on them, you call the police. I was like, I was gonna do that anyway. But it's like you have to have your own mind. But if you don't, then you're subject to that level of control, and that's you get some places where that's what it's about. It's about control.
Yeah. And I mean, we don't want this to be a bashing Jehovah Witness,
Sorry.
session. So, everybody's speaking
me
from
say
their
this,
own
definitely not.
experience. I definitely
From
can
my
tell some
experience.
stories
Yes.
from the, Baptist Christian perspective as well, because reality, regardless of your spiritual beliefs or organized religion, whatever you subscribe to, humans are humans. And that's what I
We're
had.
all the flesh, and people are not perfect.
Humans are humans, and they are messed up no matter where you go. They do really
Human.
fucked up things no matter where you go or what you say you believe in or what you subscribe to.
And can I just say, we put these people in these positions, these humans, elders, bishops, pastors, these humans in these positions. Girl, hush.
And I believe that, yeah, I believe that some people are called, to a higher calling or whatever to be able to lead and teach people. However, again, they are still human. They got to go through their own journey and, process and therapy, whatever, just like the rest of us. So kind of like what we were talking about previous episodes, we put people on a pedestal and think they're like above reproach, TD Jakes. We think they're above reproach and can do no wrong, and then you come to find out, like, oh, like just a regular man. Oh, okay. So I think that's where, again, the spirituality part kind of comes into play, where you realize that there is something higher than us human people. Because if you look at humans, honestly, speaking for myself, if I was looking at just straight humans, I wouldn't subscribe to anything. Quite frankly, I would just be like, you know what, all y'all messed up. Let me just go figure out my own thing, and I'm gonna just make up my own religion, and we gonna
Right. So I think at the end of the day, because we're coming up on time, but I think at the end of the day, find what's compatible to you. And if that's somebody with the same upbringing or the same foundations or the same beliefs as you, do you work with that and be fruitful, progress, grow in
multiply,
whatever that
make them babies.
Well,
Like it, I love it.
well, but yeah, do you? That's the biggest thing. Do you find your person, be compatible, be happy in whatever that looks like for you. So we've come to the end of this whole wonderful conversation. Like we promised, you will find all of our links to everything we own: Instagram, YouTube, Apple, whatever, any and everything, you'll find us. And Nikki's gonna drop those links. He's gonna find our own individual little posts. If you want to find us individually, follow us, like us, And please make sure to give us y'all opinions. Y'all don't have to like what we say. Y'all don't have to agree with what we got to say. I mean, keep it cute, keep it respectful, like Nicki Minaj said. Watch your mouth, but we would love to hear what you think. So
drop it in the comments.
Right, drop it in the comments. Come talk to us.
Interact with us. We will respond from our podcast page, but we might respond personally too, like a couple of people got personal response.
Show did and did.
Hey,
you know who it was, right? I show did. You know who it was.
When I say behind your back, you can say it to your face too. I have no problems saying whatever it is I got to say.
I said all 2024. I'm on my Cat Williams. Okay.
Okay.
Everybody
I'm gonna tell you like it is, and I'm gonna have to receipt.
I'm gonna say it with my chest.
That part.
There, that's it. All right, folks. Have a good night, good day, good morning, good evening, good week. Bye.
Ciao.